A man is charged for allegedly trying to extort R250,000 from Oscar Pistorius. Belgium's capital, Brussels, is rocked by a series of terrorist bomb attacks, leaving at least 30 people dead. Hello and welcome to it. You're watching eNEWSDIRECT. I'm Duduzile Ramela.
And I'm Sandy Lekanqose. Good evening.
Remember to comment on any of our stories. You can find us on Twitter and Facebook. That's at eNEWSDIRECT.
And tonight's hashtags are Tambo and Oscar Scam.
And we start with this. The man who told Oscar Pistorius he could make his murder case disappear for R250,000 has been charged with corruption and extortion. Pistorius called the police after Chifiwa Rudadzi contacted him claiming to be an employee of the National Prosecuting Authority. The Hawks then conducted a sting operation, arresting Rudadzi after he accepted R40,000 as part of his alleged scam. Rudadzi will apply for bail on Thursday.
It remains unclear how, but this man allegedly managed to get Oscar Pistorius' phone number weeks before he was due to return to court for his murder sentencing. The state said Sifiwa Rudadzi contacted the Paralympian last week. Rudadzi allegedly claimed he worked with Pistorius prosecutor Gerrie Nel and said he and his team could help Pistorius with his murder conviction. According to the National Prosecuting Authority, Pistorius played along, but then called the police. The prosecution has stressed that Rudadzi has never been an employee of the National Prosecuting Authority. Advocate Gerrie Nel has described his attempt to extort Pistorius as opportunistic. Rudadzi said little during his court appearance, but has revealed he needs medication for an unspecified kidney problem. Pistorius is likely to be the state's main witness against Rudadzi. Rudadzi, meanwhile, is expected to apply for bail on Thursday. Karen Morn, Johannesburg.
Belgium's Prime Minister has called for calm following this morning's bomb attacks in the capital. At least 30 people were killed and 3 explosions in Brussels. Dozens more were seriously injured. Islamic State has claimed responsibility for the terror attack that may be linked to the arrest on Friday of Paris bombing suspect Salah Abdeslam.
2 explosions ripped through the Zaventem airport outside Brussels. One was reportedly near the check-in area and the other in the departure lounge. Authorities have since confirmed that one of the blasts was caused by a suicide bomber. The airport was immediately evacuated and all flights cancelled.
I hear an explosion and all the ceilings is going down. And then I just go under the sink, and then the second explosion went, and then everything is black. And I see, when I go out, I see a lot of people with blood.
Minutes later, another explosion hit a metro station in the city. European leaders have condemned the attack, and France and Britain are holding crisis meetings. Border and airport security across the region have been stepped up. The incident comes just days after the arrest of a suspect in last year's Paris terror attacks. While Belgium has been on high alert for days, a security analyst says the bombings were planned well in advance.
Typically, attacks like this take more than 3 or 4 days to prepare, particularly as we've seen there appear to be coordinated attacks at the airport and at the metro stations now. But it may have been that there was an existing plot in it, that the attackers were moving towards that has been accelerated in the aftermath of Abdesalam's arrest.
South Africa's sent its condolences to the Belgian government.
Back home now, and the ANC in Parliament has a new chief whip. Jackson Tambo takes over from Stone Sizani, who resigns to take up a diplomatic position in Europe. Tambo is a former ANC spokesperson and is widely seen as the right person to lead the party inside the National Assembly.
It's the most important job in the ANC's parliamentary caucus. Jackson Mthembu is now responsible for 249 MPs. He'll have to make sure they're in the National Assembly to participate and vote on legislation.
All political parties choose a tough-minded politician as their chief whip because his job is to pressure dissenters to go along with whatever is the majority decision. And if there are very serious controversies, he has to minimize the number of MPs who will abstain or be absent when the vote is taken.
Tambo will be the 12th person to hold the title. The high turnover evident that the job takes its toll on political players. However, Tambo has served as the face and voice of the ANC before.
We have got no doubt that he will continue to steer the parliamentary caucus towards a direction that it has been going. He's got a wealth of political and legislative experience. He has served as a chief whip of the ANC in the Mpumalanga legislature.
When Jackson Mthembu takes up the mantle of chief whip, he'll first need to unify the ANC's caucus and then restore South Africa's faith in parliamentary proceedings, which at times have been raucous and chaotic. He is likely to achieve this by reaching out to the opposition and working with MPs from across the aisle. Mthembu will officially be introduced when Parliament reconvenes in April. Nesta Kivit, Parliament.
Durban's beleaguered municipal bus service is on the financial skids again. In February, bus drivers went on strike for the second time in as many months. 1,500 jobs have been lost and millions squandered in financial bailouts for the private companies that have tried to run the bus service. Our current affairs program, Checkpoint, has this report.
Durban bus drivers weren't paid their salaries in December or January. They also didn't receive their year-end bonuses. The city's bus service has been limping from one disaster to the next since it was privatized in 2003. First, it was handed to Raymond Alton, a company partly owned by controversial Durban businessman Jay Singh. Singh also owned the ill-fated Tongaat Mall, which collapsed in November 2013, killing 2 workers. He's unapologetic about bribing his way out of trouble. In '97, he was fined for offering a bribe to a city official.
Everybody is giving people police bribes today, everybody. So it doesn't mean if you pay a fine for the bribe, it's a criminal record. Because you pay a parking fine, it's a criminal record.
Singh threw in the towel in 2009, saying the city's low subsidies made the business unviable. Then, President Jacob Zuma's nephew, millionaire taxi boss Mandla Kaba and his company Transnet took over. Now Kaba is embroiled in a legal tussle with the city after pocketing 77 million rand from Transnet coffers.
It would be personal expenses, Mr. Kaba's personal expenses, that were settled out of the Transnet account. So then accruing.
He said he would pay back the money. Has he?
Not yet.
The city maintains if Kaba had returned this money, there would have been more than enough to cover the drivers' salaries and bonuses. Workers like Michael Biela have been left financially broke and emotionally broken. Biela's son committed suicide soon after he was retrenched.
As the message he left, he said, my father is a failure, I'm doing standard 10 with an aim of a medicine. He was a very clever guy.
While it mulls its next move, the city has taken back the management of the bus service.
A quick look at world news now. In a news conference by the presidents of Cuba and the US during Barack Obama's historic visit to Havana has seen the 2 leaders sparring over human rights issues and the US trade embargo. Obama conceded he couldn't get the embargo on Cuba lifted by Republicans in Congress before he leaves office. President Raul Castro raised the issue of closing the American detention camp at Guantanamo Bay and Obama the release of political prisoners held by Cuba. Obama's visit is the first by a sitting U.S. president in almost 9 decades and follows the re-establishment of diplomatic relations between the 2 traditional foes. And Myanmar's president-elect has nominated Aung San Suu Kyi to join the incoming cabinet. That's after she guided the National League for Democracy to a landslide election win in November. This will give Suu Kyi a formal role in the government that the constitution bars her from leading. She's pledged to circumvent the ban by running the country through a proxy president. Let's take you straight to the sports desk now, where Sandile is standing by. And relief for the Lions, Sandile.
Luzila standing by to see what people are talking about on social media.
Thank you so much, Sandile. And we start with this hashtag, Sanra, which has got Gauteng motorists hot and bothered as it gets ready to issue legal summons for outstanding e-toll fees. COSATU has labelled the move social harassment and an attempt to bully people. It says motorists are not going to be liable for a system which has been rejected by the majority of Gauteng residents. And moving on to the second one, today marks World Water Day, observed internationally. The day is used as an opportunity to learn more about water-related issues. It's been held annually since 1993, and this year's theme is Better Water, Better Jobs, aims to highlight how water can create paid and decent work while contributing to a greener economy and sustainable development. Remember to comment on any of these stories. You can find us on Twitter and Facebook, that's at eNEWSDIRECT, or you can head on over to our website, that's eNCA.com/direct. Do stay with us after the break. We've got your business news as well as your detailed weather forecast. Welcome back. Money Matters now, and AB InBev's takeover of SAB Miller could be completed by the end of May. All that's missing is for the Competition Commission to conclude its inquiry. The news comes after the Commission said it was on track to meet its deadline. ABI's 1.6 trillion rand transaction is the biggest in brewing history. Authorities are confident, however, that the purchase has no major competition issues. But with public interest concerns at the fore, unions, customers and other firms have an opportunity to provide input on the takeover. Job security and employment conditions are likely to be of high concern to stakeholders. Right, let's see how the markets perform today. Let's check in with the Weather Centre now. Here's Candice.
The weather's relatively quiet at the moment, with a predominantly partly cloudy and warm day across South Africa on Wednesday. We're expecting quite a hot day over parts of KwaZulu-Natal, with mostly sunny weather as we head towards the coast. A few thundershowers are forecast over the central and southeastern interior, with a large amounts of cloud moving in from the west, and then we're expecting some light rain or drizzle over the southern part of the Western Cape. You'll see a predominantly warm day for KwaZulu-Natal, with mostly sunny weather along the coast, and a high of around 30 degrees for Richards Bay, Durban and Pietermaritzburg. Thundershowers are forecast mainly over the northeastern part of the Eastern Cape. Overall, we're expecting a warm day in the Eastern Cape, with a sunny afternoon for Port Elizabeth at 28 degrees. Partly cloudy at 23 for George, with some light rain or drizzle for Hermanus and Bredasdorp. You'll see a warm day for the rest of the Western Cape, partly cloudy for Cape Town at 26. Mild over the western part of the Northern Cape, but with highs heading into the low 30s as we head eastward, with the possibility of thundershowers for Kimberley as well as the majority of the Free State. Harry Smith, though, expecting a partly cloudy and mild day at 23 degrees. Partly cloudy and warm as we head towards the northwest, but with the possibility of thundershowers for Vryburg at 30 degrees. 25 for Polokwane, Zanin and Palabor at 27, with partly cloudy and dry weather for Limpopo and Mpumalanga. In Mpumalanga, you'll see most of those highs heading into the mid-20s, 30 degrees though for Skukuza. A few degrees warmer on Wednesday for Gauteng, 26 for Johannesburg and Verena. Vereeniging, and Pretoria warms up to 28 in the afternoon. We're forecasting rainfall over the southern part of South Africa on Thursday, with thundershowers over the central parts. Temperatures continue to warm as we head into Friday. Things remain dry along the west coast as well as over the eastern half of South Africa, but with thundershowers extending from the Northern Cape and the northwest all the way through to the southern and southeastern coastline. That's all from the Weather Centre for now. Have a great night.
Thank you, Candice. Coming up after the break, oceans of possibilities for bookworms as the largest floating book fair in the world docks in Durban. Here's one for the bookworms. The world's biggest floating book fair has reached Durban's shores.
Great news for us in South Africa. The logo's Hope, which travels the world with volunteers from more than 50 nations, will be docked at the Durban harbour for the next month and a half.
And book lovers will be able to browse through thousands of novels for a fraction of the cost.
More than 5,000 books fill these shelves, and you can get your favourite title for next to nothing. The Logos Hope aims to get more people reading.
From here, we'll go into dry dock here in Durban. We have about a month over at one of the shipyards where we will bring the ship out of the water, clean the bottom, do some painting, check certificates, make sure the ship doesn't sink, and then we'll carry on.
It's the fourth vessel commissioned by German charitable organization GBA Ships since 1970. In its first 3 years, the Logos Hope sailed over 43,000 nautical miles and opened its gangways to 2.5 million passengers at 63 ports across the world. And locals are loving it.
I think it's phenomenal. It's just so huge. It's got so many books, books of all kinds.
I think it's a great opportunity to discover a different way of propagating culture, and very interesting.
Durban is the furthest south the Logos Hope has ever ventured, and bookworms across South Africa need not worry about being left out. The vessel will head to Richards Bay in May before sailing to East London, Port Elizabeth and Cape Town. Judith Subban, Durban.
A reminder of the day's top stories before we say goodbye. A man is charged for allegedly trying to extort R250,000 from Oscar Pistorius. Belgium's capital, Brussels, is rocked by a series of terrorist bomb attacks, leaving at least 30 people dead. And that's a wrap from the eNEWSDIRECT team.
It is indeed your favorite drama. Rhythm City is up next.
Remember, you can share your views with us. Do send us an email to eNEWSDIRECT@etv.co.za.
You can, of course, just chat to us on Twitter and Facebook, and our handle is @eNEWSDIRECT.
Until tomorrow night, have a fantastic evening. Bye-bye.